Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our Chefs for Chefs cook-alongs. I'm Sylvia Ng, the founder, and I'm also a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and soon to be certified culinary nutrition expert. We had to pivot from our original plans this month when our chef Nancy unfortunately got sick. So please wish her well. And instead, I am going to do some cooking workshops focused on boosting your immune system and making sure you have all the natural energy you need to get you going for the holidays. So everyone, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat, where you're cooking from, and what you like to do to keep yourself healthy. And you might not always think of it, but food is such an important part of getting the energy you need to properly fuel your body, your mind, your soul. And so that's why I'm doing this series of recipes to help you all nourish and help build a foundation for a healthy gut to boost your energy levels and sharpen your mental focus, improve your mood, and support your immune system. So hello, everybody. Oh, hello. Great. And so the organization I've decided to support and cook for this month is called Slow Food, which is an international movement and network of awesome foodies like me and you. And if you're not familiar with slow food, just think about what is the opposite of fast food. We live in a society and culture today where food has just become a convenience, where we're spending less and less time on growing, preparing, and appreciating the foods that we're eating. So slow food really focuses on the importance and significance of celebrating the connection between people and the origins of food and culture. And their philosophy is based on 3 principles of good, clean, and fair food for all, where people can access and enjoy food that is good for them, good for those who grow it, and also good for the planet. And I actually volunteered with them a few years ago at Slow Food Nations in Denver, where it brought together local food businesses, food education for kids and adults, live cooking demos and tastings, and they really do such great work around the world. So please check out your local chapter and all that they're doing if you haven't already. And the one here in Colorado also does cooking and nutrition classes in schools, and they have a mobile food pantry. So they do so much. And I will actually just put that website into the chat. And so what we're making today is, well, we've got a pretty extensive menu going on for today. We have some snacks, including a homemade tahini, some edamame hummus, along with some quick bonus snack ideas. We also have a salmon and avocado superfood salad with a sesame ginger dressing for an entree. And we have a warming ginger and goji berry tea to round out the meal. And so we have a lot planned for today. So let's just jump right into the cooking. So I'm actually going to start off with a simple sesame edamame. And let me throw that into the spotlight over here. And so basically it's a simple sesame edamame tossed with a little bit of sea salt. And so if you've never seen edamame, these are the whole pods, and insides are these little green beans that look like this. And so I'm just going to bring up some water to a boil before I throw in these edamame pods. And then to get started on my tahini, I have some sesame seeds here that I toasted in a dry pan. Kind of like how you would toast coconut in a pan. I kind of just did it the same way. I put it on medium heat and then just give the pan a little shake. And within, I would say, 7 minutes or so, they actually started to turn a little bit brown and golden. So hopefully you can see how nicely that looks. And what I'm going to do is put that in my little spice grinder here. And I found out that this spice grinder can only fit about a 1/4 cup or so. So I'll have to do this in a few batches, but basically I'm just going to grind it. And then I'm going to add it to my mini food processor and add a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of salt. And that's it. You got yourself a homemade tahini. You don't have to toast the sesame seeds, but I wanted to try it because it brings out a little bit more of a nutty flavor. So hopefully this isn't too loud. Okay, now I'm going to put that in my little food processor. If you just wanted to make a small batch of tahini, you could totally just do it in the spice grinder. But since I have quite a bit of sesame seeds to ground up, I'm just putting in something a little bit larger. And if you've ever had tahini, it's basically like peanut butter, except instead of peanuts, it is sesame seeds. So a lot of times when I first tried it, I was replacing peanut butter in my meals with tahini. So you can spread it on apples, which is one of my bonus snack ideas. Instead of peanut butter and apple, I have apple with tahini. You can drizzle a little bit of honey on it if you like, but the apples are generally sweet enough. You could also use it in sandwiches. You can use it as a salad or a salad dressing. You can use it as a dip. You can use it for so many things, really. And so sesame seeds are super healthy for you. A lot of people know it as, because it is a seed, it's got, it's got protein, it's got fiber, but it's also got these really healthy fats in them too. And those fats are really good for your brain and your nervous system. It helps regulate your hormones. And it's also got zinc and selenium in it, which is great for your immune system too. It of course has some calcium in it, and it's also got some, I think it has magnesium in it too. I'll have to remind myself, but I know it's definitely got some B vitamins in it, so it's great for your energy metabolism. Well, my water is boiling. I'm just gonna carefully add my edamame pods in here, and it really only takes a few minutes for this to cook through. And then I have a strainer ready by the sink so that when this is ready, all I have to do is strain it out and it's all ready to go. So back to my tahini, I have about a half a cup of my sesame seeds all ground up, and I'm just gonna add some olive oil to it. You could probably measure this out, but sometimes I just like to eyeball it and then see how thick or thin it is. So I would say it's maybe start out with a quarter cup, and then I'm gonna add also a pinch of salt in there too. And then I'm gonna blend it up in my little food processor here. This one is a bit loud, so I would maybe close your ears if Zoom isn't properly quieting it for you. Start on low. Great, and because I want it to be a little bit thinner, I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of like a really thick peanut butter right now. I'm just gonna add a little bit of water to it to thin it out. And I'm gonna scrape down the sides to make sure I get all of that good stuff in the center. And if you want to thin it out more, you can always add more water. Depends on how you like it, really. Okay, great. And then if you want to leave it a little bit, thicker, you can. If you want it a little thinner, that's totally up to you. And what we're going to do with this is actually make our sesame ginger dressing for later. But I'm actually going to use a lot of this for our edamame as the base for our edamame hummus. And if you've ever made hummus before, it's basically, instead of the chickpeas, I'm replacing it with the edamame beans instead. These edamame beans, these pods are just about, yeah, they're done. It was just that fast. So now I'm gonna strain it into the sink using a colander. And you could put it into an ice water bath, but since I wanna actually eat these soon, or while we are cooking here, I'm actually just gonna rinse it under a little bit of cold water first. I actually like eating them warm. And these are actually really fun for kids to eat because you just have to tell them not to eat the pods, but to put it in your mouth and then bite down on it so that the beans release from inside the pods. So kind of like that. Yep, it's perfect. So what I'm gonna do is just add a little bit of salt and pepper to it. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of my mixed sesame seed. I gotta eat one more. My mixed sesame seed that I keep in a container. It's very like kind of yin and yang looking, but I just mix my sesame seeds with black sesame seeds. And that way, when I go to toss these, it's all mixed together already. Add a little bit of salt. Add a little bit of pepper. And then add my sesame seeds to it. And that's about it. And it becomes a super simple, tasty snack. You can even eat it while you're cooking if you want. But if you've got kids that are, coming home from school and they just need something super fast, this is something that I would love to have as an after school snack. It's just that simple. Great, so I will put that aside. And then next for my edamame hummus, I'm going to use the already shelled version. So basically I bought a bag of these and it is just the inside of the pods. That's it, they're all unshelled. So it's easy for me to cook with. And it's easy just to add to any old dish, whether it's a salad or a soup. And I'm actually going to reuse this pot for later. So I'm going to add about a cup of the edamame. And I do want to mention that I like to use the organic soy products, just because if they're not organic, they're most likely genetically modified. And they've probably been sprayed with a whole bunch of things you don't really want to have in your diet. I'm going to use that for my salad later. But I'm going to add that's about a cup. Yeah, that's about a cup of edamame. They have little measurements on the side, so it makes it easy for me to measure. And then I'm going to add about a quarter cup of water. Then I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And this is for a recipe for about 2 people, but really you can make a larger batch and serve it as a dip on the side, as a snack. You can serve it as a sandwich filling. You can use it in wraps, kind of whatever you can think of, really. And I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of the tahini that I just made. It's freshly made tahini. It smells delicious, especially since they were toasted. There's 1, and there's 2. So if you want to go ahead and use chickpeas for your hummus, go for it. But I do like the edamame hummus, just because of all of the health benefits of edamame. It's a plant-based protein source. It's got a lot of fiber. It's got magnesium and it's got B vitamins in it, again, for that energy metabolism to keep you going. It also has vitamin C in it, which, we all know is great for your immune system. So next, I'm just going to add a clove of garlic. And I'm going to try doing this thing that I saw on YouTube forever ago, where somebody showed it to me anyway, where you take your garlic cloves, you put them in 2 metal bowls, and then you shake them. And supposedly all the skin comes off and you don't have to do anything fancy or anything, but we'll see if that works or not. I think I tried it once and it worked great. And then I tried it another time and only half the garlic came off the peels, but let's see how this works out. Just put in a bunch because I'm gonna use some more garlic for later. I'm just gonna do that. All right, cross your fingers and hope that this works. Otherwise, it's no big deal. I'll just take the skin off with a knife like I normally do. Okay, it worked for 1 of them. 1 out of 6 isn't bad. Let's keep going. Maybe I just need to shake some more. Kind of fun, actually. And it worked for another one and another one. Oh, okay, it's getting there. I think I just need to shake a little bit more vigorously. Maybe that's the problem. All right, well, it didn't work for some of these, but that way I can just show you what I normally do with this garlic instead of shake. I probably would have been just as fast if I were just doing it how I normally do it. So hopefully you can, let me just get closer to the camera so you can see. So I face the rounded part of the garlic towards me, and then I just give it a little bit of a smash. I'll do that with the other garlic clove. And then I just cut off the end. Well, you can just, after you can do it before or after you remove the peels, but I just cut off the end, that little bit, because it can be a little bit hard to chew. And then just do that for the same on these. And I love garlic. I mean, we could put garlic in like anything we make, really. So for this, I am gonna take maybe one or two of these. I'll put in one piece of garlic for right now. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of lemon juice. So I'm gonna slice this. Well, you know what? Yeah, let's slice this. And I'm probably gonna put in about a tablespoon or so of lemon juice. And normally I would just use my hand as a strainer, but I happened to get a paper cut today, unfortunately. So I'm gonna use a little strainer to squeeze the lemon juice into my hummus. And lemon juice, of course, also has that vitamin C that we're wanting to boost our immune system. That's probably pretty good. And then the last thing I'm gonna add is just a little bit of salt. If I had to guess, it'll probably be about 1/8 of a teaspoon or so. Great. Salt. Just measure, it's about 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then I'm gonna blend this up in my blender. You can also use a food processor, but sometimes I notice that the food processor doesn't make it quite as smooth as a blender. So it's totally up to you. You can use either one. I'm gonna use the tampering. All right, so there we go. Okay, now I'm just gonna scrape it down a little bit. It's getting there. I'm gonna use green spatula for my green edamame. I don't know why I do that, but sometimes I like to color coordinate my cooking with what it is that I'm cooking. Like if I'm cooking something with tomatoes or tomato sauce, I'll use the red one. Because I'm using edamame, I'm gonna use the green one. And I'm gonna add just a little bit of water, just because it is a little bit thicker than what I would like. There we go. And then let me blend it one more time. Okay, and then I'm gonna give it a taste and see if it needs anything, if it needs any tahini or if it needs a little bit more salt. It's really good, except it can use just a little bit more salt. Maybe do a 1/4 teaspoon instead of 1/8 of a teaspoon. And maybe just a little bit more olive oil in there. There we go. And I'm gonna turn it on one more time, and hopefully that is it for the blender. And like I mentioned the last time we were cooking, definitely start on the lowest speed first, because you definitely don't want it to go and explode all over the place. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Now this mine's a little bit more chunky just because I like to have a little bit of texture in my hummus, but totally up to you. If you want it smoother, just blend it a little bit longer. And so what I'm gonna do is put my edamame hummus in a glass storage bowl, because you can use it as both a serving vessel, and then if you don't finish it, then you just pop a lid on it and it's all good to go. Ooh, that looks good. Give one more taste. Yeah, that tastes great. Okay. And what I'm probably gonna do is serve it with some cucumber, maybe a little carrot, maybe a little bell pepper. You can do baked tomatoes, radish. And then we have some gluten-free crackers, so I'll probably serve it with that as well. I really wish it was easier to clean out these blenders. They don't make it easy for you, but you got to really work for it to get it out of there. I could have probably added a little bit more garlic too, but it's okay. And if you don't have fresh garlic, you can always use like granulated garlic or a powdered garlic instead. There we go. And just about got that out. Okay. I'm going to keep that over here on the side. And while I'm prepping the rest of what I'm going to serve with the hummus, I'm actually going to get my ginger tea started because I want it to steep for a while. And ginger tea, I mean, it's so easy. You could, of course, throw in a few tea bags and you got yourself a ginger tea, but I just wanted to show how easy it is to make fresh ginger tea. And so I have just pieces of ginger, and I'm not even gonna bother peeling it, because for ginger tea, it doesn't matter. We're gonna strain it out anyway, and we really wanna steep all of those amazing ginger flavors in there. Okay. And ginger is super healthy. It is full of these powerful antioxidants and compounds that's great for boosting your immune system. And it's, you know, because it's warming, it's actually great for your cardiovascular system by getting your blood flow going. And there we go. And it also helps stabilize your blood sugars for more natural energy to last you throughout the day. So this is a great tea to have, whether it's post meal, during your meal, as a snack. Throughout, you can just drink it throughout the day, because it's also great with helping with mental fatigue and focus. And yeah, I mean, why not, right? But that's it for my ginger tea. I'm just gonna boil the ginger with some water, and you could add a sweetener like honey. I would probably add it after it's done boiling and after it's cooled a little bit. But what I like to add to this is actually goji berries. So I'm gonna grab that from my pantry here. And goji berries, if you've heard of them, they've kind of gotten this superfood status. I just got some goji berries here. They are organic. And I'll probably toss in about 2 tablespoons or so of goji berries. I'm gonna eyeball it, but they add like this natural sweetness to it. And then afterwards, while you're drinking it, you can actually eat goji berries, which is one of my favorite parts, because it reminds me of when mom used to throw these in soups all the time. And I would kind of like fish them out of the soup and eat them. But it smells really good. And people always ask me, like, what does it taste like? Does it taste like a raspberry? Does it taste like blueberries? But it doesn't really taste like any of those berries. It's got a sweetness to it, but it's a very moderate sweetness, you know? And I love that these are just so high in antioxidants, and, you know, so they're great for your immune system. They've also got, you know, vitamin A and vitamin C. And yeah, one thing is that it also does is it also does stabilize your blood sugar as well. So definitely keep a bag of these in your pantry if you don't have some already. So I'm gonna let this tea come to a boil, and then I'm just gonna let it simmer for about 5 minutes or so. And yeah, and I'm just gonna let it steep, and that's it. You have yourself a ginger tea. And after I drink the tea, I actually add more water to it, and I reboil it and re-steep it. And yeah, I mean, it literally lasts me for like 3 days. So I love that about that tea. And it's perfect for the winter, right? Because it is cold outside, at least it is where we are. So I love to have this like warming drink, just, you know, ready and waiting, whether it's in the fridge or whether I just have to throw it into onto the stove to warm up. Yeah, if you like iced tea, this is also great if you pour it over ice. And great, while that's boiling, I'm gonna just cut up some vegetables to go with my edamame hummus. Got some cucumber here. I'm gonna give it a quick rinse. I'm gonna cut it into little slices. No need to be fancy, it's just us here. But basically, if you have some of your favorite vegetables, you know, try it. If you have cauliflower that you like, or broccoli, you know, that all goes great with edamame hummus. And there was this one time when we were doing these nutrition eat a rainbow bingo games in the school I was working at. We actually made edamame hummus, and it went just as well as the regular hummus. You know, they were just like, oh, it's a little bit green, it's a little bit different, but it still tastes delicious. And the thing you taste the most in it is really the tahini, at least in my opinion. And there we go. Some there. Maybe I'll put a few little, I have a red bell pepper over here. Sure, why not? I'll just take some of this, and I'll just cut a few strips. Put that there. Just cut a few of these. I can already smell the ginger. That is so good. And if you notice, I'm not that particular with the seeds and things in bell peppers, because we actually just kind of eat them. I mean, they're edible. They're kind of like red pepper flakes that are like spicy that you might sprinkle on something, except these are mild. So I don't really feel a need to, you know, clean off every little piece of seed. And, you know, it's fiber. Why not, right? And I also bought these, like I said, I have these Mary's Gone crackers. They're gluten-free. They're olive oil and cracked black pepper crackers. So I will just serve these on the side as well. That. And then now you have an appetizer before your meal, or you can serve it as an after-school snack. You can serve it as like a breakfast, really. But here is my edamame hummus snack, and it's just that easy, like that. Looks good. I might actually eat one, a little dip right now, because I am a little hungry. All right. So the tea is going. We've got our hummus made. We've got our tahini made. So we're gonna head over here now. I'm still chewing. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Oh, Steve says he used to eat it with falafels. Are you talking about the hummus? Because I think that those would go great together, actually. The edamame hummus with the falafels, so that's an awesome idea. Thank you for that. And let's see. Okay, so next, I guess we're gonna move on to our sesame ginger dressing that we're gonna make for our salad. So this one has a lot of ingredients in it. So I do have my little cheat sheets next to me. Let's see. And what I love about this dressing is that you can make a big portion of it. I'll just do that. Hopefully you can see that. And then you can save it and use for your salads. You can use it as a marinade. You can use it as a dip. You know, whatever you can think of, really. And here's a trick that I love to tell people. I always measure out oils first before I measure out anything that is sticky. So that way, because this recipe has honey in it, I'm actually going to measure out the olive oil first, so that when I measure out the honey, it comes out of the spoon really easily. So I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Thanks for your ideas for making edamame hummus. Oh, sure. You're welcome. There we go. That's 2 tablespoons. Next, I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons of honey. Just like that. It falls right off the spoon. And I've used this dressing before to make like a really great Asian slaw, and it is absolutely delicious. It just picks up the Asian slaw so well. Go. And then next I have rice wine vinegar. If you don't have rice wine vinegar, you can use a little bit of apple cider vinegar. You can use a little bit of white vinegar, but I like the rice wine vinegar. It's not as strong. And 2 tablespoons there. And then next I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of the tahini. And again, I'm actually measuring this in one of my glass storage containers, because if I have extra salad dressing, I can just pop a lid on it and it's all good to go. Add tahini. Originally, when I had first made this recipe, I'd use peanut butter. But then I was like, well, I have this beautiful tahini made, so I might as well use that instead. So I'm hoping this recipe tastes just as good. I know a lot of people who have peanut allergies, they use sesame seed or they use sunflower seed instead, just as a good replacement. That's what we used to do in schools as well. Okay, and then next I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of water. Okay. And then I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So let me go back here and grab my lemon. I'm just gonna eyeball it really. I'm just gonna grab a little bit more lemon juice, and you can also use lime juice for this if you want as well. And I like using honey in this dressing because, you know, honey's been found to be an antibacterial, an antifungal. It also helps soothe any sore throats. It also is great for cuts and burns too. So it's pretty magic if you do eat honey. I go for the raw unfiltered one that's local here in Colorado. But if you are vegan and you don't eat honey, then you can also use a little bit of coconut sugar in this instead, and then just make sure when you whisk it that it dissolves into the dressing really well. Okay. Then next I'm gonna add in 2 teaspoons of coconut aminos. And if you've never heard of it or if you've never used it before, you can also use soy sauce or tamari, but my partner doesn't like soy sauce very much. He says it's very strong in flavor. So we opt to go for the coconut aminos because it's soy free and it's also gluten free. And it's also got a little bit of a sweetness to it. I was actually surprised by how sweet it was when I first bought this, but you can tell it was a big Costco purchase. It's about the size of my head. I'm gonna add the coconut aminos in there. And then I'm gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of sesame oil. I noticed only just yesterday that we have a bit of an Asian themed menu for today. I didn't really intend for that, but it kind of just happened that way. So I'm kind of glad. And I'm gonna do about 1/2 teaspoon. It's very strong. It's toasted sesame oil, so don't want to overpower it too much. And then next I'm gonna add about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And also some ginger. So I'm gonna need some more of this ginger over here. What did I say, 1/4 teaspoon? Yeah. 1/4 teaspoon. And then I'm gonna grate this ginger. What I'm gonna do is actually take a spoon. And if you were with us when Chef Jim was cooking with us, you just take a spoon and you just kind of, oops, maybe you can't see that. And you just kind of scrape the skin off, just like that. So you don't need to get all fancy and, you know, use a peeler or a knife or whatever. Just use a spoon. And I actually just use a spoon that I use for measuring, just to, again, save on dishes. Those of you who know me, I don't really love to do dishes. So I try to reuse as many things as possible, like using the glass storage containers as my serving vessel. And then I'm just gonna use, you can use a box grater to grate this, but I like using a microplane just because it gets a little bit finer. And also the ginger is very fibrous. So, oops, by using the microplane, it actually breaks up some of that fiber. And there you go, that's it. So here's a microplane. Please be very careful when you're using a microplane. It is very sharp. So when you start to get down to the very ends of it, just use a knife to cut up the rest. Don't try to use a microplane to get it down to, you know, within a millimeter of your fingers. I've definitely been cut before using a microplane. So, but you know, if you don't have a microplane, by all means, just use a box grater. And if you see on the other side, that's how fine the ginger is grated. And like I said, ginger has just these magically healing properties to it. So, you know, if you can incorporate ginger into some of your dishes, you know, go for it. Here I'm just, you know, I'm using it as a tea and I'm incorporating it into my salad dressing. Personally, I have these memories of my brother and I eating ginger, and then when we find a big hunk of ginger in our food, it just like, it is so overpowering. It's just like, ah. So then we have to pick it out. But mom always left those ginger chunks big enough for us to be like, hey, it's here, don't eat it. Don't eat it straight up. I remember she used to also have these ginger candies, and they were so strong. They were too strong for me actually as a kid, but as I grew up, I actually really liked it because I found out that they're just, I mean, of course they're a little bit sweet, but they had this spiciness to it that I couldn't really take as a kid, but as I grew older, I could. So there we go. And I'll just scoop that right into my dressing there. Perfect. And I'm going to toss all these little ginger skins into my compost. Put that over here. And then I also need garlic for this. So I'm going to take some of the garlic that I had from earlier and just mince it really well. And garlic, we all know, is super great for your immune system too. It's great for your cardiovascular system. It does thin your blood a little bit, which is why it's good for your blood pressure. But at the same time, if you are on blood thinners or anything like that, make sure you are checking with your doctors to make sure that it is okay for you to be eating, you know, loads and loads of garlic. I mean, some garlic's great, but you know, if you're taking garlic pills and putting tons of garlic everywhere, you know, ask your medical professionals first. And so this tea has been boiling or simmering for about a few minutes now. So I'm just going to turn it off and let it sit there. And then I'm going to chop up this, mince this garlic really. Oh, can't really see that. I'll go over here. I'm going to mince this garlic really fine. Not really any trick to it. I just cut one way and then I just cut the other way. and then just give it a really good chop. And what I do to mince garlic actually is I take a little bit of salt. I'm gonna put it back over there. Let me grab it. I put a little bit of salt over the garlic on my cutting board. And then I actually smash the garlic using using my knife. Well, you'll see what I mean in a second, but the salt acts as an abrasive and it actually draws out some of the moisture from the garlic so that when you are chopping it, it actually breaks it up. I kind of like little bits of garlic kept as a chunk, kept as little chunks in my dressing. So I do that and run it over with my knife one more time. And of course, make sure that when you're mincing garlic, this hand is always staying on top of the knife. There you go. And then I'm going to add that to my dressing. Garlic always gets really sticky all over the place, so I'm just going to rinse my hands really fast. Okay, and then I'm going to add in my sesame seeds. Again, I'm going to take my black and white sesame seeds that are already pre-mixed here, and I'm just going to add it to the dressing before I whisk it up. That smells so good. I can really smell the sesame oil in it, actually. So I'm going to give it a taste and then see if it needs anything. That is really good. I feel like I'm getting a hint of the vinegar a little bit more than anything else. So I'm just going to whisk in a little bit of olive oil to kind of round out the flavor of the vinegar. That is really good. Great. Now that I have my dressing ready, all that's left to do is make our salmon and avocado salad. So since the tea is done, I'm gonna put that aside, let that cool a little bit. All of our finished dishes are over here, so I'll just add that. I'm gonna grab my pan. Oh, I was supposed to bring out the salmon and let it come to room temperature, but I completely forgot it. And the salmon, I actually just, I got an Atlantic salmon. And if you are not sure about the quality of your salmon, you know, totally ask whoever's working behind the counter. They have a lot of knowledge, a lot of great knowledge about, you know, what fish is freshest for the day. And also, if you ever check out the Monterey Bay Seafood Watch, it's actually it's a really great resource because it'll tell you which fish is more sustainable. It'll tell you about, you know, where, depending on where it comes from. It will also, it'll also tell you if there's any potential contaminants. Yeah, but check it out if you can. It's actually a really great resource. And I can put that link in the chat at the very end. It's a nice looking piece of salmon. Felt something over here, maybe the bone. Oh, I felt a little pin bone over here. I'm just gonna pull it out. So just check and make sure. They don't always catch every single bone. So what you do is just run your fingers along it and see if there's anything that kind of sticks off of it. Great, and that was the only one actually, so it's pretty good. So what I'm gonna do is, let's see, this is a pretty big piece of salmon. So yeah, just check on the other side to make sure there's any scales left on there. Actually, just gonna cut this in half. Oh, maybe I'll cut, actually, there are scales on here now that I am feeling that. There are a few scales. Yeah. There are a few scales in there, just make sure. Yeah, make sure they're all off because you definitely don't want to be eating scales in your fish. So we give that a quick rinse. Glad I checked. So maybe just run over it again to make sure you got all the scales. Okay, yeah, there was one there. Okay, and that should be another one there. Yeah, they're usually really good about cleaning the fish, but it happens. Okay, that's done. I'm actually just going to slice this in half. And you can also score the skin. For the larger pieces of salmon fillets, I definitely would. For this one, it's kind of small. I don't know if I really need to. But what I'm gonna do is get this pan, start to get it nice and a medium high heat. Then I'm gonna add in a little bit of olive oil. Oh, there's more scales. Okay. Once the pan gets pretty hot, I'm gonna add in a little bit of olive oil. And then I'm gonna let the olive oil heat up a little bit. And then I'm gonna season my fish with a little bit of salt and pepper and put it skin side down first. Yeah, I'm just checking again for scales. So a lot that was flying around, so. Oh, there's more scales, more scales. Hopefully that's pretty good. And I definitely like to leave the skin on because that layer of fat that's between the skin and the flesh, that's where a lot of these really great essential fatty acids are. And, you know, if you think of salmon, it's a cold water fish. So when fish are in the cold water, you know, they need to develop a little bit more fat on their bodies so that they can keep themselves warm. Checking one last time for scales before I put it on there. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper. Just salt. Salt and pepper is fine. Okay. So that oil is looking nice and shimmery. And when I put it down, it should make a really nice sizzling sound. That sounds great. And I don't want to put the cover on all the way because I don't want it to steam, but I do want to put it on just so enough so that it kind of catches the splatters from the fish. So let me clean up these fish scales here. Wash my hand. If you notice, I tried to keep one hand touching the fish and one hand not touching the fish so that the other one can use the olive oil and salt and pepper without getting salmon all over it. Okay, and while that is going, I am going to make our salad. And I have all of my beautiful greens already washed over here. Just do this. And I'll give this cutting board a quick rinse. Just flip it over, but because that's what people do in their restaurants. But this is my home and I don't want little food bits stuck all over the counter. I mean, it's just garlic and ginger really, but it can get a little sticky and messy. That looks good. All right, so I have some beautiful kale here. It is like, it's the curly kale. You can use any kind of kale you want. You can use the purple one. You can use the lacinato kale, which is known as Tuscan kale or dinosaur kale. But I just use this one because this looked the best in the market. So I'm actually just gonna rip these up with my hands. This is great for kids to do as well, just ripping up leaves in their hands. And we're gonna add a little bit of olive oil to it and massage it just so that it kind of breaks up some of these fibers. And it's able to pick up some more of the flavors better when it's got that olive oil all over it. And I think I have more kale in there somewhere. Here's a little one. Remember when kale was the superfood? That seems like forever ago, right? It was like kale this, kale everything. I mean, I love kale. I love to add it in smoothies, salads, soups, whatever. So I will add that into our salad bowl. And I'm gonna make enough salad for us for tonight, but I'm also gonna make enough salad for tomorrow because I am busy for lunch and I could certainly use the break and just have this already prepared. Let me drizzle a little bit of the olive oil. Drizzle it in there, and then just massage it with your hands. Just gonna do this. What I'm gonna do here, I'll put it right here so you can see. Literally just massaging it with my hands, and it kind of shrinks a little bit too. So what do you think is a lot of kale? Kind of goes down about, 25% or so. It's already looking great. I'll leave that over here, and it also makes the kale look brighter, if you can tell from the camera. I mean, it just gives it a really pop of color. And here I have some dandelion greens. I mean, talk about superfoods. These kind of became superfood status, over the past few years. And people are like, well, can I eat the dandelion that's growing in my backyard? And I'm like, well, kind of depends where you live. Depends where the dandelions are growing. If you're in a city urban center with, where there's a lot of car pollution and, maybe there's stuff in the soil that you're not really sure of, if there's heavy metals or other contaminants, it might not be a good idea. But if you have like a backyard that is well protected and far away from the street or any cars or any other sort of pollution, then, give it a try. See if it's to your liking. It is a little bit bitter, I will tell you. But a lot of bitter foods, especially the dark leafy greens, are really good for your liver, to help detox any sort of toxins that you might have. So I just split the dandelion down the middle, down the center, and then I just chopped it up. And it's that simple. Add that to my salad bowl. Get the last little bits of it. I'm gonna check on my salmon because I can smell that it's getting really nice and crispy over there. You can hear it too. So it might be almost time to flip it already. I picked it fast. The salmon wasn't very thick, so we'll go for another minute or maybe 2 minutes there. So in the meantime, I'm gonna chop up my purple cabbage here. And purple cabbage is also, I love purple cabbage because you get this big head of cabbage and it lasts you for like a week or so. And this, believe it or not, this was like the smallest head of cabbage that I could find in the store. So, so what I'm gonna do, if you see the inside, there is this core that I need to cut out. So basically it's kind of the same as how you would cut a pineapple. So you cut it down the center, and then you cut it down the center again. And then when you see the little core here, you just cut it on an angle and cut that core out. So I'm gonna go ahead and prep that for the entire cabbage so that it's ready to go for me for the rest of the week. Maybe I can do that so you can see it a little bit better. Cut up the core. And there you go. You put that in another storage container if I have one. If not, I'll probably just leave it in the bowl. And we only need about, I don't know, maybe a cup or so for this recipe. So I'm gonna cut it into maybe thirds, something like that. And then I'm just gonna shave it really thin. Cabbage is actually related to kale. They're both kind of in the same family, so they have a lot of great health benefits that they share. Add that in there. And yeah, I'll cut up more. Why not? Some people don't like cabbage because they say they don't like the smell or it makes them very gassy. So if that's the case, I would just kind of recommend just eating a little bit at a time. Don't eat a big thing of slaw, if you know that it's going to make you gassy. Just add a little bit to your salads every day, and hopefully that will kind of help ease you into the gassiness of eating cabbage. When you cook it, it definitely smells up. You can definitely smell up the house, that's for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna add that in, toss this with the rest of my compost. And I'm gonna check on my salmon over here. And yeah, I think it's about ready to be turned over. So if you're using like an aluminum pan or a cast iron pan, I would use like a fish spatula. But since I'm not using one of those pans, I'm just gonna use my bamboo cooking utensils here. So great, it should come off very easily from the pan. Because we heated up the pan and put in the olive oil to heat up before adding the fish, it definitely makes it less likely to stick. So I'm gonna flip this over. And that's great. It's got a nice brown color, you can see on it. And then since these pieces of salmon fillet aren't really that thick, it shouldn't take too much longer. So I'm actually gonna turn down the heat a little bit, let it cook for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna turn it off and let the heat from the pan carry over and finish cooking the salmon. So next I have these carrot. I'm gonna add carrot to this salad. So you could use a box grater again, but I actually like using a peeler instead, because when I peel the carrots in there, one, it's easier. Two, you get like a thicker piece of carrot, you can taste it a lot more. And also if you have kids, this is easy for them. They can help you out in the kitchen and they just do this. You don't have to worry about them cutting themselves, hopefully, with a knife or a box grater. I feel like the box grater has really sharp teeth on it. So I prefer using the peeler. And when I make my daily salads, this is actually how I do it too. These are organic carrots, so I don't even bother peeling them. I just give it a good rinse and use the whole carrot. It's one of those things where I'm buying the whole carrot. I don't want to shave off, 10% of it that is totally edible, right? Just gonna do this. And I also love using the tricolor carrots, but these carrots were on sale, so I bought these instead. But I love the tricolor carrots because they're like purple, orange, yellow, and yeah, you just get such a colorful rainbow dish out of everything that you make. And so I'm gonna take the rest of this carrot and actually I'm gonna add it to my edamame hummus. Cut a few carrot sticks from it. There you go. And then next I'm going to add, let's see, what do I have? And I'll chop up the rest of this bell pepper, I guess, and add it to my salad bowl. What I do is actually just cut around the center seeds so that the seeds are less likely to go all over the place when I do this. And if anyone's ever tried taking these seeds and planting it into the ground, it works. And that's it. So now I just remove that from center, check on my salmon while I'm here. And then I'm just gonna dice it really quickly. Put it into strips, and then I'm gonna dice it. The first time I ever worked as a nutrition consultant, I was working for the Regional Food Bank of New York. And I was going around to all these different, food banks and soup kitchens, just doing very quick cooking demos and nutrition workshops with people. And the purple cabbage, or just cabbage in general, I found was the thing that a lot of people were really hesitant about cooking. It's almost like they didn't know how to cut it, like even if we were giving them out. I remember this one middle-aged man came up to me and was like, wow, I never knew how to cut a cabbage before. Like I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to prep it. I didn't know how to cook with it. So just simply showing him how to do it, he says, it's great. It doesn't have to sit in my fridge and go bad, because now I know what to do with it. And we were just making a super quick cabbage applesauce, and it was delicious. So he was super thankful for that. So sometimes I think that confidence in the kitchen of like knowing what to do and how to do it, as long as you just keep doing it, you know, your cooking will get faster, you'll get better in the kitchen, and you'll just feel more comfortable in the kitchen. So that's what I love about, you know, doing these fun cooking workshops. Okay, next I am gonna add some edamame, the same edamame as before. I'm gonna add about maybe half a cup or so. I might as well just add the whole thing. I love edamame, so why not? And let's see, if you are somebody who does not like to have fruit in your meals because, you know, it's hard for you to digest, I would say, you know, totally leave it out. But if you want to add orange to this, I think it would make a great addition. Maybe I will do that actually. I know my partner doesn't like to eat fruit with his meal, so maybe I'll just cut it and leave it on the side. I'm gonna check my salmon here. It can go a little longer. Just, I turned down the heat, but it can go down a little bit longer. So I'm gonna cut up the orange into little segments, but I'm gonna keep it on the side just because I know that he doesn't like having it in his salads. I love having fruit in my salads. I think it adds like a juiciness, like a kind of a crispness. I just use this little container. And what I would do, I mean, what you could do actually is also zest this and keep the zest and add it to things. So this is like a really beautiful orange. I might actually do that. I might actually just save the zest for one of my upcoming recipes. I'm just gonna take orange peel, save that. And it smells so good when you peel the orange too. It's like, it's got all those amazing essential oils in them. And that white part is the part that's called the pith. It's the part that everybody says is a little bit, you know, bitter, so that when you're zesting it, you don't really want that part of it. But for what I'm going to use it for, I'm just going to throw it into like a tea or something. It's totally fine. And I think my salmon is just about ready to be turned off, and I'm going to let it just sit in the pan and finish cooking on its own. So for this, I'm just going to cut off the top and the bottom. And again, you know, the oranges have a ton of vitamin C, which is great for our immune system. And when you think about orange juice, it doesn't really have fiber in it, right? But when you're eating the whole orange, it does have the fiber, and that part comes from all these little juicy bits in it, like the white parts, these little jewels from the pulp. So I definitely recommend eating an orange versus just drinking orange juice, because you're not only getting all the vitamin C from it, you're also getting the fiber from it too. Compost, which is in my freezer. And then if you wanted to do the whole like fancy restaurant like supremes or segments, you could just do like that. So I kind of put my knife in between each of the white parts, and then it forms these like little, I guess you can see little segments. But when it used to drive me crazy, because doing that in restaurants, it kind of created a lot of waste, because then you'd be left with this whole entire orange that you couldn't really do anything with. So I used to go around and ask people whenever they were doing orange soufflés if I can eat their orange middles. And that would be like part of what I ate for the day, because yeah, I just loved it. I hated the waste of it. So what I'm gonna do after I do these segments is just actually cut it up into little stars. And I think kids would really like eating orange stars, as you can call them. So there you go. I have my orange segments, my beautiful little orange segments there. And so, like I said, I'm going to keep these on the side, and I'm going to add it to my own salad. And then, so for this part, I'm literally just going to cut it into little stars so that you have these like fun little shapes to add into your kids' salads. Or you can just eat it yourself, which is what I love to do. There you go, because it's totally edible. So don't waste it. All right, so I have my orange segments here. I'm going to put to the side. And then I think we just have the last little bits to go, which is an avocado, some cilantro and scallions, and yeah, and then we're just going to finish off our salad here. I just bought these avocados recently, so I'm hoping that they are ripe for today. Sometimes it's a gamble and you just never know, but I have them kept in a paper bag and I put it in the sun just to see if it would ripen any faster. And I'm feeling around, and I think this little one could be ripe. Could definitely use a little bit more time, but let me see. Kind of just have to feel around for them, and kind of have to go with your gut whether or not it's ready. This is a little bit softer, so I'm just gonna give it a quick rinse. The rest of the avocados I think will be good over the next day or two. So hopefully, please, avocados. So like last time, I just put the knife in the middle and I roll the avocado around the knife. And then I twist off, and it's a great looking avocado there, huh? So what I'm gonna do is just cut little diagonals. And if you remember from the smashed avocado and egg toast, you know, I put the avocado on the cutting board and cut it. I don't cut it while it's in my hand, because the avocado skin can actually be very thin, or it could be thinner than you think. And you definitely don't want to cut yourself that way. So next, I'm just going to scrape this out of the skin and put it right into our salad. And then I'm going to do the same with the other side. But again, when I am taking out the pit, I'm not holding it and then jamming the knife into it, because I've definitely cut myself doing that before, especially when the pit is really loose. So I'm just going to tap the knife into the pit and then pull it out like that. And then give it a nice little cut, 2 diagonals. And see if you even noticed, I even cut right through the skin, because I have very sharp knives, which is great, but definitely don't want to cut through the avocado skin and then end up cutting yourself. So there you go. Just give it a good scrape out there. And then next, I am going to cut up my scallion and cilantros to finish up this dish. And toss this in my compost. Now, I know a lot of people are kind of big fans of cilantro, or they hate cilantro. So it's up to you. If you want to leave it out, totally go for it. I just we love cilantro, and we actually eat the stems and everything. So I know sometimes when you're in restaurants, they'll tell you they pull all the leaves off, but you know, we're eating this at home, and there's a lot of flavor in the stems. So I just leave it. I leave it on. I'm gonna give this a quick run with my knife. Stems and all. And that's it. Just add it to the salad. The salad is getting really full, as you can tell. And I'm going to cut up my scallions, and then we are good to go. We are ready to start serving our salad for tonight. We got salmon, we got avocado, we got our sesame ginger dressing. A few stalks of scallions here. For some reason, whenever I cook Asian food, I like cutting scallions on an angle. I have no idea why. It just reminds me of, I don't know, ordering something in a restaurant, and they always come out like cut at an angle. So I don't know why I do that. Okay, I'm gonna add that to my salad. And what I am going to do here is, you see I've left the bits with the white part on it. And what I love to do, you don't need a whole big garden to do this, but I'm gonna grab my pot that's sitting over there, show you a little trick to have scallions all winter long. I actually still have scallions growing in our backyard, because what I do is just take a pot. Trying to think where's the best place to put this. Take my pot here. It's just got some potting soil in it. And I just take these little scallion ends and I stick them in the dirt. It's organic potting soil. I just dig myself a little hole here and then put each of the scallion ends in there. And you see, like, it has the roots still attached to it. So that is you'll be amazed how long these roots will grow. And when you check back with me again in our next episode, I can show you how well these have grown. And that's it. Look, I have my scallions here, and it's fun for kids to see them grow too. And you get to this sort of like sense of accomplishment, like, wow, I'm actually growing something in my home. Even if you're not a good gardener, trust me, this will work for you. So now I'm just gonna give it water it a little bit using my kitchen sink. Give it a little bit of water and then just let it grow. That's it. It's that simple. And then over the next week or two, these scallions will grow. I mean, I don't know, sometimes they'll grow this much, sometimes they'll grow this much, and you just got to keep cutting them and keep eating them. But that is my trick for having scallions all year round, basically. So you don't even really have to buy them so often. So let me add this here and give it a toss before I plate up. Go. I'm going to put this to the side over here. And I'm going to use my spoon to just give this, I mean, look at how beautiful the salad is already. It's got so many different colors and so many different flavors in it already. And this is enough to feed feed a family. But I am actually gonna, like I said, I'm gonna eat some of it for tonight, and then I'm gonna eat some of it for lunch tomorrow. So it's kind of like a time saver too, if you just do a lot of batch cooking. Okay, there you go. There's my salad. And the salmon, I'm just gonna make sure is fully cooked. Just kind of give it a poke on the side. See if the flesh is completely cooked, and it is. Great, that looks so good. So I'm just gonna reheat it a little bit so it's nice and warm when we plate up. So let me clear this area now that we are basically almost done. So we have our salad. Let's see, let's start bringing everything over here. This is gonna be a plate for my salad. Actually, yeah, okay. I'm gonna bring my salad here. You could pour the dressing in it and toss the whole thing, but since this is gonna last me an extra day or two, I don't want it to get all wilty. So yeah, that's good for me. And then I'm gonna give my salad dressing a little whisk. And I'm gonna pour. I'm gonna grab another spoon to pour the dressing all over it. And then I'm gonna finish my salad with some pumpkin seeds. And then I have a hemp and chia seed mix that I put on like everything. Here I have some sprouted pumpkin seeds. A few more in there. And then, so kind of like my black and white sesame seeds, I have a mix of hemp and chia seeds that I pre-mix so that when I'm ready to just put it on my salad, it's like saves me like 2 seconds. But hey, time is valuable. So the salmon is ready to go here. I'll wait for it to stop sizzling and splattering so much. Oh, this looks amazing. I'm gonna put the salmon on here, just like that. And what you could do is also just use the edamame hummus as a salad dressing itself. Here I have my beautiful, maybe I can use this, beautiful plate of salmon with my salad with a sesame ginger dressing. And then here I also have all of my edamame snacks here. And I'm also gonna grab a cup for my ginger and goji berry tea. I don't even strain it. I just let the goji berries and the ginger go right in there. And there you go. That is our meal for today. It is a lot to eat, actually. It's probably way more than we can eat for tonight. But I'm just gonna give you one last quick look over. Here's our salad. Here's our edamame hummus with all the little side fixins. I got the cucumber, carrots, red peppers, and my gluten-free crackers. And then here I have my sesame edamame snack. I think it's right there. It's hard to get that shot. But like I said, you can use the rest of that tahini to have like a tahini and apple snack. Oh, that is my ceiling. But yeah, I mean, that's it. I have enough food to last me probably for the next 3 days or so. But yeah, if you have any other questions or comments for today, definitely put them in the chat. But I just want to say, thank you everybody for joining, and thank you for everyone who's involved in making this food happen, from the farmers to the food workers, to the truck drivers, to, the people stocking on the store shelves. And last but not least, just thank you all for joining us today. Like I mentioned, it's the holiday season of giving. And if you haven't already donated, you can click on the link that I'm going to throw into the chat. And you can do so anytime this month to make sure the proceeds go to Chefs for Chefs and also for Slow Food this month. And if you'd like to stay connected and updated on what's going on, there's always our Facebook group. And I can put that in the chat as well. Yeah, and if you stick around, I will post a quick survey to get your feedback on how we're doing and how things are going. So I just want to say thank you again for being here today. It's been so great to see you all, and I hope you enjoy your dinner. So that's it. Bye, everyone.